Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. And today's episode is going to be about rewiring your subconscious mind for abundance. And what does that mean? Well, abundance is a mindset, it's a belief system, and it's really about the belief that there's limitless opportunity for you. And we've been programmed to live in scarcity, not enough. And I know that's huge out there, especially right now with the way the current economy has been going. So I wanted to bring to the table an expert that I've been personally following for a while. I really respect her, Alyssa DiLeo. She's a psychotherapist, a specialist in neuroplasticity, and now she's also a transformational mindset coach, helping executives to break through financially at Career Evolve. So I am so excited to have this conversation with you today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Olivia.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And I want to just dive right in because I know the subconscious mind is kind of like it's a little bit of a mystery, but ultimately our subconscious is driving all of our decisions. So what is so powerful about the work that we do, I think that people don't realize is when you can shift some of these underlying programs, you can absolutely change your life. So I just want to start by talking about the power of this kind of work. And I know you've got a personal story that's just absolutely mind blowing. So tell us, like, what was the biggest transformation you've done with your subconscious mind, rewiring your brain, and what did that do with your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So back in 2016, I had a very bad health scare. I was diagnosed with three different chronic illnesses: chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic pain, irritable bowel syndrome. And it was through a series of emotional traumas and just that accumulation over time that made my body sick. And eight different doctors told me, this is the hand that you're dealt with. We don't know what causes it. And people that have these conditions, they have them forever. You can take medication, you can work out to a certain degree, but for the most part, this is just something you're going to have to manage. And I asked every single doctor, is there anyone that you know that has healed? Just instill a little bit of hope in me. And all eight of them told me no. So I went on my own journey of healing, and it took me about 5 years to rewire my brain back to health. And it was not easy by any means, but I understood that if my brain and my subconscious was powerful enough to completely take me out and to make me sick to the point where I was a shadow of myself and I could not even function anymore, I knew that that same brain could also heal me.
Wow. Okay. So this is huge, right? Like you used, and this is where I think of people just get so confused and it can be like a disconnect because it's like, okay, your body is the problem, but you're focused on your mind.
Exactly. And I was stuck in that loop for the longest time, whereas there must be a physical genesis. They're missing something. Blood work, MRIs, CAT scans, all sorts of different type of things, just looking for something physically wrong, because that's such an easier out than it is to transform your mindset and to do that inner exercise than it is to just, maybe you're deficient in something of that sort. So eventually I put my stubbornness aside and I got really inquisitive and I tuned into that curiosity and I was like, okay, well, neuroplasticity, to simplify, is the brain's ability to reorganize and change itself throughout one's lifespan. So in a maladaptive way, that got me sick. And in an adaptive way, I was able to heal myself through that. So
Okay.
it's, yeah,
Tell me more about that. What does that process look like? What does it all mean? How did it work?
sure. So basically, what happened was my brain got stuck in a state of fight or flight. And your brain cannot tell the difference between an emotional threat and a physical threat. So if you're feeling chronically unsafe, your brain is going to keep the danger response activated in your brain, and it's going to start sending you messages of pain and illness and all sorts of aches and pains that don't really make any sense, and they really shouldn't be fired because there's not an actual problem going on in the tissue. But because the mechanism is stuck like that, it feels very real. But what you have to do is learn how to shut off that danger response that doesn't need to be there. So in order to do that, I started on a journey of visualization because that's the quickest way to rewire your brain. And this is gonna sound maybe a little bit daunting, but I was down bad. I was down really bad. So I had to commit to 60 minutes of visualization for 18 months, and I had to continuously input and impress my subconscious mind. I am not sick. That is not my identity. That is not my story. So I came up with all of these different visualizations that were surrounding health and being able to do all the things I want to do and being able to move across the country to San Diego and not be plagued and unable to do so because I didn't feel well. Being able to go to the gym, being able to eat foods again, being able to do all the things until my brain truly believed that that was my reality. So it took a lot of input and impression and also acting that way throughout the day, because it's not enough to just visualize that. I had to become that and embody that.
Wow. So it sounds like you were able to achieve that and make it happen. So I think this is what's interesting about this, because I think this is where people get stuck, like whether it's creating abundance, creating health, creating a new reality through your mind. And it's just coming down to you have to believe it before it's here, before you can see it, before it even makes rational sense. And that's really challenging to do.
It is, and that's why I try and lean the science route to people, and I say neuroplasticity, and people don't really know what that is, but it helps sell that it works. It sold me that it works, because if someone was just like, oh, you just have to believe it and have faith, I'm like, no, I need some type of evidence. I don't need it to show up in my reality right now, but I need to know that it's possible. And so when I really understood the process of neuroplasticity and rewiring your brain to create adaptive changes through visualization, through putting yourself in a parasympathetic, relaxed state, I let go of the when, because I knew if I was doing those brain exercises, changes are taking place in my subconscious, and eventually my physical body will reap the result.
Okay, so you just chose to trust the process.
Yeah, I knew that changes were taking place because that's just how the brain works. If you impress something over and over and over again, you're rewiring the brain, whether it's for good or it's for bad.
And I personally can attest to this as well, not such a dramatic health story because my health, thank God, has been pretty good. But with me, it was more rewiring out of scarcity because I grew up around there wasn't people that were building seven-figure companies or scaling or wealthy, and there wasn't moms that also could be really powerful and abundant. And I just didn't have access to those types of role models or even like possibilities. So being able to really break out of that was a lot of mental work. And I think people don't realize this, but like to just be sitting here as a seven-figure company scaling to eight figures, like if I didn't regulate my subconscious and my nervous system, I could not hold all of this. And I know that there's very few executives out there that could sit in my seat because it's different when it's not your money, right? And you're not the one carrying everything. It's a totally different level of pressure. And I think if I didn't do that mental mindset, subconscious work, I would be a shell of myself because it takes a lot, right, to overcome those mindset blocks. So for you, when you think about like rewiring out of scarcity into abundance, what does that mean for you?
I look at it the same exact way that I approach my health journey. If I was able to reprogram my subconscious mind from I am this sick person who's going to be sick forever to I am healthy, why wouldn't I be able to practice that same mechanism in every single other area of my life? Whether that's relationships, friendships, money, abundance, all of the things. If it could work for my health, it could work for everything.
It does, right? And it's, I think, easier for money than for health, in my opinion, because that's so like physically deflating, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I want to talk about the idea of abundance versus scarcity. And it is a mindset, and we see it every day at Career Vault, especially in this current economy, right? People are feeling squeezed. They're feeling like there's not enough opportunity. They're not feeling like they're enough to even compete. So we see this a lot with the people that we're working with. And, you know, for those folks, like, why do you think it's so hard to get out of that scarcity mindset?
I think one, it comes down to how they were programmed. 0 to 5 years old, the subconscious is super impressionable. It's like a sponge. That's why you learn languages so easy. It's so easily impressionable, especially that age up to 25 years old. And then it gets really hard. Then you really have to self-direct it on your own. But, from that age, I think a lot of the times parents have a scarcity mindset and they're struggling. And then we see that as kids. And then we have society that's constantly inputting. You have to make a certain amount of money to survive, and paycheck to paycheck, living to paycheck is the norm for the majority of people. And I think that people get stuck because that's what they're seeing. They're getting the same paycheck, and it's not a paycheck that's really enabling them to live an abundant life. And they turn on the news, and there's a crash here, and then they look into the job market, and the salaries aren't really that great, and people aren't really getting that many raises. So what's being inputted again is there's not enough. There's not enough money. There's scarcity. There's limited jobs. And I think that it just keeps people stuck in that scarcity mindset.
It's, yeah, I mean, most of the planet's living in scarcity. Absolutely. So it's so hard to not allow that to become your belief system as well, because if you're operating off lack, limitation, not enough, you're in scarcity, and and scarcity is driving, and you're going to create more scarcity. So I think what's so important is to be able to break those patterns of thought down and create, whoops, my mic just fell, and create those new neural pathways that can
Mm-hmm.
get people conditioning their mindset. And that's a lot of what we focus on at Career Vault, is that if we
Yeah.
can get people, because if you don't believe you can get abundance, or there's a limitless opportunity for you, we've lost before we started, because you're not even going to be motivated to go after it if you can't even see the abundance, right? So half the battle is getting people to see that there's abundance right now for all of us. I mean, it's never been easier to create opportunity than it is now. But I have that belief system to be able to see the opportunity everywhere, because I've conditioned my mind, right, to live in that space. So let's talk about that for a second, because so many people know, yeah, I know I could be making more, or I know I could, be getting more opportunity, but they're still staying year after year in survival mode, and they're not breaking out of that. What do you think would you say to them, that group?
I think the first and foremost, most important thing is that they have to believe that it's possible for them to. I think people are receptive to the idea because they see it. Olivia did it. This person did it. This person did it. But I don't fully trust that I could do it. And then we have to figure out and decode why. Why don't you believe that you can do it? Where is that coming from? How can we unravel that and peel back the layers a little bit? and then get them to start to shift their mindset. And that's repetition, and it could be starting with something as small as walk outside and just look at how many trees there are, how many cars there are, how many people there are. Just starting to open their eyes to the fact that there is abundance everywhere. Like this water bottle right here, you know how much water? There's so much water, but people are just programmed to hang on to every single penny and stay in a relationship with this person, even though there's billions of other people on the planet, because they only think that there's one person that's good for them, or to stay in that job because they don't think that there's other opportunities. But I can personally also attest to the fact that I started saying no to so many different jobs. People reaching out to me on LinkedIn. I left positions because I was like, not only is this not aligning with me and lighting me up, I deserve more, and I know that there's more out there. And I think the biggest reason I was able to do that, aside from health, was what I was listening and what I was consuming. So I stopped having conversations with people who were in that scarcity mindset, and I started immersing myself with people that had more of a growth and expansive and an abundant mindset. So I think there's shifts that need to be made with your circle, but also within.
Yeah, because I think most people are addicted to focusing on what's not happening, what's going wrong, what's broken, what needs to be done. And it's just to actually sit with gratitude for what is. I think that's the most transformational habit anyone can have, because we all have everything we need. We all have more than what we need. And when you start to think about really commanding your value, it's one thing to logically know, okay, I'm worth 150,000 or whatever it is, but it's another thing to become the person that can command that value. And you have to be able to first see all the opportunity and embody that person that knows, of course, they need me. Like, because I have so much value to bring and I have so much to offer. And right. So those are a lot of the rewiring that I think it's easier said than done, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows what to do. Most people are really smart, but they're not doing it. And that's because there's a program running on autopilot, keeping them stuck, keeping them stagnant. So let's go there for a second. What is a subconscious program and what are we talking about here?
So subconscious programming is it's again, I think people piggybacking off of what you just said, people experience resistance. Their conscious brain will say all sorts of amazing things like I can have $1 million, I can create my own 7-figure business, I can make 200K. But then when it comes to action, they feel very stuck and they don't follow through with it. And that's because their subconscious brain hasn't quite caught up with the conscious brain. So they're at tug of war. It's this cognitive dissonance. They're so used to operating from a certain state that when they try not to, their brain enters fight or flight and they get submerged with fear. And the fear takes over, and they're actually more comfortable living in that scarcity than they are taking that first step towards abundance. So I think nervous system regulation is actually very important, because then you start to become more comfortable with the idea of stepping into it and being okay with receiving more money. And also, like you were saying before, really starting to embody it as well, like being that person, showing up as that person is one of the best hacks to trick your subconscious brain, because then it releases resistance because you're showing up as that person already as well.
Okay, let's talk about this because we're really big on identity transformation at Career Evolve. It's the root cause of every problem that anyone's facing in their career. So you say embody, talk about that, because like we always say, okay, embody your new identity and the rest will take care of itself, right? So what does that mean for you? Like, let's break that down.
Yeah, absolutely. So, because we started with the health journey, I'm just going to use that as an example. So, let's say career health, whether you're manifesting money and success, or health and vitality. It doesn't really matter. It works the same way. So when I started visualizing, because again, that's the biggest way to hack your subconscious, is you're visualizing, you're inputting that new information, you're impressing that subconscious. So that's super important. Use health health as an example, but you could also use money as an example in abundance, because it doesn't really make a difference. So let's say someone began their journey and they're practicing gratitude and they're visualizing themselves as someone that is already healthy, is already making X amount of money. Maybe they're affirming it, they're writing it down, they're taking those initial first steps. It's not enough to just do that. You have to be very conscious of where your brain is taking you the rest of the day. So it's great to have those 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes where you're impressing your subconscious mind. But then if you leave that and you're, oh my gosh, wait, I'm not healed yet. Well, it didn't work. It's not working yet. Or I haven't gotten a raise at work yet, and I haven't gotten job offers yet. You're back on that program that we don't want you to be on. You're reinforcing the subconscious in a way that's negative and in a way that's scarce. So you almost have to show up as that new person. So when I visualized and I was sick, let's say I had a flare up. I wouldn't freak out, and I wouldn't say, why isn't this helping? I would say, oh, okay. I wouldn't react to it. Okay, this is normal. This is part of the process. This is how the brain works. It's not just linear where you go up, 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 up. You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. It's how you react to those triggers of, wow, this person said no to me, or wow, I'm not feeling good yet. How does the empowered version of you react to that? And that's where you have to practice that nervous system regulation, but also get crystal clear. Would they freak out? No, they would be like, okay, maybe that just wasn't for me. The highest version of myself isn't going to freak out. I still know that I'm it. I still know that it's on its way. And that's the energy that I'm going to continue bringing throughout the day.
And I love this because I wanted to share something on this because I didn't even realize I was regulating my nervous system until you just said this. Because when I get into that flooded overwhelm, when we get a reaction, it's because we're thinking something that's causing that. And so, you're thinking, I'm overwhelmed. I can't handle all this. Like, this is too much, right? And so instead, I have like this mantra. I pattern interrupt, and I just say, I've got this, it's happening. I've got this, it's happening. I have everything I need. I've got this, it's happening. And then it's weird when you start to just calm the thoughts, all of a sudden you're calming your anxiety. And all of a sudden you're clearing the noise to see clearly what your next step is, because your thoughts are propelling you. Well, I've got this is a decision. That's a belief. That's a choice. You do that over and over, you're priming a new identity that believes they've got it, not the old one that this is too much. And I think these are the types of mental exercises that it's kind of like just like going to the gym, right? I argue that you need to also go to the gym for your mindset, because that's the most important muscle in your body. It's deciding your entire life trajectory. And that's why I know that, the identity transformation is the root cause for anybody with any issue in their life. And it takes a level of extreme ownership to go there, but that's when you can really change your life. So, last question for you. What is the biggest one piece of takeaway anyone listening to this should take away from needing to rewire their brain?
I would say that it is 100% possible for you to rewire your brain. It's not easy, but no one's an exception. Everyone can do it. Our brains all function the same way. They're impressionable until the day we die. We can create new pathways. We can create new belief systems. We can rewire our subconscious. If I was able to do it, if Olivia was able to do it, anyone can do it. However, it does come with that level of conviction and persistence, and knowing that it might not be easy, but I know that if I stick at it and I continue doing these brain exercises and I impress my subconscious mind to something that I do want instead of reinforcing what I don't want, which is that scarcity mindset, eventually it will happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. If you train your brain, it has no choice to change. It's brain science.
It's facts. I love it. Thank you. That was a great place to end it. I appreciate your time.